Wow. I mean, just wow. Welcome to another episode of Skid Reviews and all that, but I just came back from watching the new Blade Runner movie and called Blade Runner 2049, and I am still blown away. I cannot... Whoo. Now, Blade Runner 2049 is a sequel to the original Blade Runner, which was directed by Ridley Scott, which came out in 1982, a film that redefined the science fiction genre. So Blade Runner 2049, the sequel, had a lot of expectations to live up to. And did it live up to the expectations? I would say yes, it did, and it exceeded its expectations. Blade Runner 2049 is one of the most beautiful movies that you will ever see. I can promise you that. Director Denis Villeneuve and the legendary cinematographer Roger Deakins, they combined together yet again to bring to the screen one of the most beautiful cinematic experiences that you will ever have if you go and watch Blade Runner 2049, and I can promise you that. You know, we were actually apprehensive about going in to watch this movie because over the years there have been sequels made of franchises of movies and series from the 80s and the 90s that mean a lot to us, that meant a lot to us as kids and still mean a lot to us. And the track record hasn't been good. Case in point, examples are the new Ghostbusters movie. I mean, not new, but the Ghostbusters movie, the recent one. How shit was that? And also the Total Recall reboot. Was it a reboot or was it a sequel? I don't know, but it was crap. So yeah, Blade Runner, I didn't really know how to react to it when they announced that they were working on a sequel to the original Blade Runner. I was apprehensive, but then when I found out that Denis Villeneuve was going to direct it, then, you know, I was interested, I was intrigued. Denis Villeneuve, okay, he is an interesting director. I mean, and it kind of was an obvious choice as well, because Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, was the story, yes, it was awesome as well. The story was really well done as well, but it was the visuals, it was the cinematography, and it was the music that made the original Blade Runner such a classic, such a cult classic, and such a genre-defining movie of its generation. And Denis Villeneuve is someone who has a very unique style of his own when it comes to shooting scenes, when it comes to scene composition, when it comes to cinematography in general. And were my hopes misplaced? No, they weren't, because Denis Villeneuve delivered. This is an amazing movie. Visually and musically, it is a masterpiece. Thematically, it is an example of science fiction done right in the big screen. But at the same time, it is also susceptible for the same kind of criticism that can be levied to this movie, as was the case with the original Blade Runner. So having said that, let's get straight into the review of Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is every bit the beautiful thematic companion to Ridley Scott's original Blade Runner, a film that redefined the science fiction genre. Denis Villeneuve and his team are remarkably ambitious, using the topics raised by Blade Runner to continue the conversation instead of just repeating it to make a buck. To this end, they have made one of the most deeply philosophical and challenging science fiction films of all time. Riding a wave of gorgeous visuals from the legendary cinematographer Roger Deakins and a crack effects team, Villeneuve brings us to Los Angeles in 2049. It's been decades since the first film, but the replicant-destroying Blade Runner is still a profession, and Ryan Gosling's K is one such agent. The film is undeniably gorgeous, the kind of work that would be appreciated with the volume turned all the way down. Not only are Deakins and Villeneuve great at the futuristic aspects of their vision, but they've made a film whose most striking imagery often relates to nature. It is one of the most stunningly shot films of not just this year, but the last several. I cannot wait to just see it again, just to bask in its visuals without trying to follow its plot. And the sound design is so remarkable that it's almost overwhelming. This is a film you don't passively watch, you experience it. Ryan Gosling gives one of the best performances of his career in Blade Runner 2049. He is perfect for this part, as Gosling allows fear and confusion to become operating forces on his character's arc without ever overselling the deep emotion of the piece. Harrison Ford also reprises his role as Deckard, the original Blade Runner, and his appearance in the movie just makes the whole thing so much better. Villeneuve also draws great performances from Sylvia Hoeks and Ana de Armas, who do fantastic jobs with their roles. Yes, the film does drag on for a bit. Like the original Blade Runner, certain audiences might find Blade Runner 2049 slow and boring in certain sections. But criticism like that can fade away with repeat viewing and is only a tiny smudge in the grandiose spectacle that is Blade Runner 2049. We certainly had reservations before going into the theaters to watch this movie, but Villeneuve has pulled it off. The movie is immaculately made, it is gripping, and it relocates this world's mournful, romantic, and ultimately hopeful soul. Blade Runner 2049 is the most beautiful movie that we have seen in several years, and by far is the best movie of this year till now. So there you go, that was our review of Blade Runner 2049. For us, as we've said in the review, it is the best movie of the year. The best movie of the year by far, and if this movie doesn't get Oscar nominations, then I'm gonna be pissed. So I recommend every one of you, and especially if you are fans of the original Blade Runner, or if you are science fiction fans in general, just go watch this movie. And if you find it a little boring in the first watch, then go back to the theater, into the theater for a second time, for a third time, and watch it again, because this movie is freaking amazing. It really is. I mean, it can be a bit boring for some people in the first watching, but give it another chance. Give it another chance. And if you don't like the story, just go into the theaters, just, you know, put in earplugs or something. No, don't put in the earplugs, just like zone out the dialogue and the plot and just watch the visuals and listen to the amazing music by Hans Zimmer. I mean, it's an experience. It's an experience like no other, and it is it warms my heart to finally see science fiction done right. And even if you're like not a fan of the Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, or if you're not into science fiction, but if you're a filmmaker, if you're interested in filmmaking or cinematography, or, you know, scoring for feature films, then just go. You can learn so much from this movie. It's such an experience. I keep saying that word because that's the word, experience. That's the word that really reflects how you should go and watch Blade Runner 2049. You know, we can ramble on and on about how good this movie is, but the bottom line is that this is one of the most beautiful movies that we've seen in a very, very long time, and by far this is the best movie of the year. So definitely go watch it. Definitely go watch it. And if you've already watched it, then, you know, let us know what you thought about Blade Runner 2049 in the comments below. So yeah, thanks for watching, and if you want to see more content, please do leave a like, and perhaps you can consider subscribing to our channel. It's free, it takes only a second, and it helps us out a lot. So yeah, until next time, I will see ya.